The Terminator 2029 was developed and published by Bethesda Softworks. It was released in 1992 for the PC-DOS, and the version that I have right here is the so-called Deluxe CD edition. This one was released in 1994. It includes the original game, plus the expansion pack / the mission disc Operation Scour, which was released separately in the year 1993. It also includes speech for all the mission briefings, plus an in-game soundtrack with a couple of music tracks which weren't in the original disc-based version. The Terminator 2029 is the second out of 5 Terminator games which were made for the PC-DOS by Bethesda Softworks. The first one was the Terminator, then there was the Terminator 2029, then there was the Terminator Rampage, the Terminator Future Shock, and the Terminator Skynet. Some people would say that the Terminator 2029 is, an action adventure. Other people would say that it is an action game. I guess you could also call it a first-person shooter. But the game is not based on any of the Terminator movies, and like the title already mentions, this game takes place in the future of the Terminator universe. The setting is Los Angeles in the year 2029. You take control of a sergeant from the Resistance with the call signal Iron Wolf, and you are a member of John Connor's Special Operations Group. Your task is to field test a new highly advanced combat assault armor, which was uniquely designed to destroy Terminators. A prototype of this suit, which was actually made by Cyberdyne Systems, was found in a hidden subterranean vault, and after salvaging it, John Connor ordered his Resistance scientists to use this prototype and analyze it for the base to create a practical weapon for his elite strike forces. And the result was the advanced cybernetic exoskeleton battle armor, short the ACE battle armor. Sorry. And this new ACE battle armor has one big, or actually huge, disadvantage for the Resistance, because a soldier who wants to wear the ACE battle armor must link the suit directly to his nervous system with the help of brain implants in order to manage properly. And therefore a soldier must have the right psychological profile, physical strength, and his or her body must be able to accept the brain implants without getting irreparable brain damages. So bottom line, only you and maybe 2 or 3 other people out of the entire resistance fit those requirements and are actually able to use the Ace battle armor. But in the end, it is better to have a handful of super soldiers than none at all. At the beginning of the game you have to create a character by simply naming him, and then you can start the campaign by going to the mission briefing room, or you practice on a training simulator to familiarize yourself with the Ace battle armor / with the game and its controls. Before each mission, and also if you decide to use the training simulator, Colonel John Connor will give you your mission objectives in a mission briefing along with Major L. Torres and Technician Rachel Sterner. Major L. Torres will give you tactical information of the current area and what kind of enemies you might encounter. Technician Rachel Sterner will give you information about your weapon systems, upgrades, and sometimes she also has an extra mission objective for you.
The name's Rachel. I'm happy to get to work with you, Sergeant.
Let me start by saying that you do not have to write down everything we tell you. All important information will be transferred to your memory core on the ACE battle armor. You will have the opportunity to review it by bringing up your orders once you're in the mission area. With that said, let's run over your first mission profile. Sergeant, we wanted to give you a chance to practice using some of the weapons of the ACE battle armor. But the war has escalated to a point where the only practice you'll receive is on the training sim. Therefore, you are ordered to proceed to 1-5 Mark 1-6 in Alpha Sector.
After the mission briefing you have to arm the Ace battle armor yourself, therefore you can choose any of the current available weapon systems and upgrades, which isn't much in the beginning, only a 40-watt plasma gun, a fusion grenade launcher with 2 shots, and an autodock unit which can heal injuries on the battlefield. But the more missions you are able to complete successfully, the more weapons and upgrades you will get later on in the game. After arming the Battle Ace armor, you're right on the battlefield. With the mouse you control the crosshair, which is also the cursor to select, for instance, the weapon systems. With the left mouse button you activate and fire the primary weapons or upgrades, and with the right one secondary weapons or upgrades. With the arrow keys on the keyboard you control your character. With left and right your character will turn either left or right, and with up and down you walk forward or backwards. The game uses the same kind of mechanics like older first-person role-playing games like Dungeon Master or Eye of the Beholder. All the levels are grid-based, which means that you move from field to field and you can only walk in 4 directions, not diagonal. And you also can't do side steps / strafing. On the top of the screen you have your 6 hard points where you can choose your weapons and upgrades, plus it will also show you if 1 or more systems have taken some damage by changing the color. Green is okay, yellow is damaged but still working, red is badly damaged and yeah, still kinda working, and offline means destroyed. Underneath the hardpoints display is the character vision display / the game screen, where you can see everything that your character sees in the game. On the bottom left of the game screen you can see your heading, the current coordinations and your selected primary and secondary systems. Plus a power meter will appear also on this side if you use any of the grenade launchers. Underneath the game screen you have on the left side the status display. It shows the armor, which is divided in body zones, and if you get hit by enemies it will show you which zones are damaged and how badly the damages are by changing also the color. The color code is basically the same like with the weapon systems, and it's also the same with your health, which is represented by an aura around the armor. Later on in the game you also get shields for the Ace battle armor, which will be displayed by a blue aura around the health aura. Right next to the status display are the plasma gun energy bars, which show you the energy level of your plasma gun or guns if you have selected those as primary and secondary weapons. In the middle is the radar screen. It shows you all the targets and their movements in the local area, but the radar can't differentiate between friends or foes, so every target will be displayed by a red dot. The radar has also another very helpful function. It shows you the grenade tossing distance simultaneously to the power meter on the game screen. This really helps for pinpoint accuracy, plus you also see the blast radius on the radar. Above the radar screen you have a pause button, and the other one brings up the game options. Those consist only of 3 options. The first one is to abort the mission, the second one to turn on or off the sound effects, and the third one to quit the game and exit to DOS. Finally, on the right side we have the information display. Like the name already implies, this display can show you all kinds of informations. With the letter A you can bring up the so-called auto map, which is basically a mini-map. With the letter S you can scan enemies for more informations, like for instance their damage status. But yeah, this only works if you are equipped with a rocket launcher, and it also doesn't work on gun turrets. With the letter O you bring up your orders for the current mission. With the letter I you bring up your inventory. All the items in your inventory are numbered, and in order to select one of them you have to press the same number on the keyboard. Then you can either use it by pressing the same number again, you can examine the item by pressing the letter E, or drop it by pressing the letter D. In some missions you will have more items than the screen can show you, therefore you have on the left side of the information display an up and down arrow to scroll through your inventory. Also, all the communication will be displayed on this screen, and if you start the auto repair system with the letter R, you see the status/progress of the damaged parts or systems. And with the letter N you can switch through the damages and select the part or system that you want to have repaired first. All the missions consist for the most part out of a couple of primary and secondary objectives, like defending a transmitter, destroying a computer terminal, or salvaging important data or codes from missing or killed resistance troops, and sometimes there are also some extra objectives like recording an audio signal for Rachel. Except for the last one, each mission takes place in the ruins of Los Angeles and some underground bunkers/facilities. So scenery wise there's not much variety in this game, but actually I don't mind it. The levels consist mostly out of rune sections which are connected through passages, and in order to enter subterranean areas you have to find elevators. Some of the elevators are protected with a password which you have to type in yourself, provided that you already know the password of course. The underground areas are also divided in sections or floors, which are also connected through passages, elevators or tunnels. But those underground areas are built like mazes, and the further you are in the game, the harder those mazes become, either finding your way to a mission objective or just out of there. What's also really interesting in this game is that Bethesda Softworks use the same feature from the Wing Commander series, where the game reacts to your performance in a mission. So if you fail a mission, assuming your character didn't die and you were able to make it back to HQ, the game continues with a different mission than if you would have been successful. And by completing missions successfully, you also get promoted, which brings you better weapons, more ammunition and upgrades.
I'm sorry that the recon patrol had not been able to hold out. Still, the information you've retrieved will be invaluable to the Resistance. Also, I must commend you on your performance. It's quick thinking like yours that will save us in the end.
Get some sack time while you can. We're going on an assault tomorrow into Epsilon Sector. I think you're ready for some real action.
Once again, Sergeant, good work. You've been promoted to Sergeant Major.
Welcome to Weapons and Tactical Analysis. My name is Technician Rachel Sterner. I'll be keeping you informed of new developments we make for your ACE battle armor when they are available. Most of the information I'll be giving you can be found on the weapon schematic in a condensed format in the Ordnance Bay. I just hope we're able to give you the firepower you'll need to survive out there. We have some new developments from the Tech Lab. First, you'll notice that there is a more powerful cannon available, the phased plasma cannon in the 60-watt range. It's more powerful but uses more heat. It should, however, make short work of some of your enemies. Next, we have two new missile systems.
On the other hand, you also get those weapon systems and upgrades later on if you mess up a couple of missions. But you only get those since your enemies would be too strong to fight them only with the basic equipment.
That's it.
But if you mess up too many times, LA and all the resistance troops in it will be wiped out. Game over. Since I've already mentioned the weapons and upgrade systems a lot of times now in this video, let's talk about those. There are 4 different kinds of plasma guns with 40, 60, 80 and 100 watts. Depending on their strength, they also need more energy, and therefore you can't shoot as often with a 100 watt plasma gun than with a 80, 60 or 40 watt one until those weapons have recharged the energy again. Then there are 2 types of grenade launchers, the fusion and scatter grenade launcher. The fusion grenade launcher fires 1 grenade at a time, and the scatter grenade launcher fires also 1 grenade, which on impact breaks into 4 to 8 grenade pieces, and those scatter and explode around the impact zone. And then there are also 4 different kinds of rocket launchers. 3 of them have a target lock function, which can only be fired if they have locked on to a target. And one of them is a friend or foe missile type, which you can fire at any time, and the missile will search for an enemy target by itself, but it will self-destruct if there's no enemy nearby. The destruction power of all the grenades and rockets are more or less equal. So those are all the weapons that you get in this game. In some missions you also get the so-called proximity mines, which you can find in your inventory, but those explosives are needed for main targets in those missions. Now to the upgrade systems, which you will have a lot to choose from, especially at the end of the game. The first one is the Autodock unit, which heals your character's life energy. Next we have an Autofire Neuralink, which basically adds rapid fire to your plasma gun. Not very useful in my opinion, since the plasma guns don't recharge quickly enough to make this upgrade useful. The next one is the target tracking system, which enhances your crosshair with extra informations. Normally if you aim at the target, it will show you the name / the class of the target and its distance. But with the upgrade it will also show you its life status, and it's also able to detect and differentiate between resistance troops and Terminator infiltration units. Since in this game both look the same, and you would have to wait until they open fire at you to reveal their identity, and accidentally shooting resistance troops will have consequences for you. The next one is extra armor, which reduces every damage by half, but only on the body part where you equipped this upgrade. Then we have the so-called Thermalite unit, which reduces the needed shooting energy of your plasma guns by half, which means that you can shoot twice as much before the gun has to recharge. The Comtech Neuralink allows your auto repair system to work twice as fast. This is actually the most important upgrade in my opinion. Then the Combat Neuralink doubles the damage of your plasma guns. The Quick Lock unit, in combination with rocket launchers, which have a target lock function, immediately lock onto targets. Without it, it takes about 2 to 3 seconds to lock onto a target. And the final one is a shield generator power unit, which regenerates your shields twice as fast. Shields will be added to the Ace battle armor about halfway into the campaign. They are able to withstand 2 or 3 plasma gun shots depending on the strength of the plasma guns before your armor gets damaged, and they recharge automatically. There are 8 different kinds of enemies that you will encounter in the Terminator 2029. Half of those we already know from the first Terminator movie. There are the 2 different kinds of T-800s. We have the normal ones and the infiltrators, which look like human beings because of their living tissue overlay. Then there are also the Flying Dragon A1000s and the giant battle tanks, the Eradicator G1000s. and the other half are machines that we have not seen yet in any of the movies, but they fit right perfectly into the Skynet weapons arsenal, like the Seekers, which are flying mines, the Javelin G500s, which I'm sure are based on Ed 209 from Robocop, the Sentinel gun turrets, which protect entrances and important targets on the surface and in underground areas, and the Scorpion A2000s, which are more or less flying eradicators, which look like Cylon Raiders from Battlestar Galactica. All of the enemies are equipped with more or less powerful weapons depending on their class. They all have their strengths and weaknesses in terms of speed, movability and hit points, but they don't have any specific tactics or anything, so if they see you, they try to terminate you. A very helpful feature in this game is the training simulator, which you can access before and after every mission. The trainings level is divided in 7 sections, and in each section you will encounter different enemies, starting with weaker / lower class enemies, and the further you progress, the harder / higher the class of the enemies will be. The first section is more or less a safe zone. There you will also find the exit to end the simulator, and in the first and last section you also have 2 elevators, which will take you either to a repair bay to instantly repair your suit, or to the armory to reload your weapons. I would really recommend before starting the campaign, use the training simulator to learn the controls, get comfortable with the suit, its weapons, upgrades and the repair system, and also use it later on when you get new weapons and upgrades. Test them in the simulator first if they are actually useful for you. So what I'm trying to say is, there are many games which feature also a training simulator, training missions or a tutorial, but not in very many cases I thought they were actually needed or useful. In this case of the Terminator 2029, it really helps. Now let's talk about the drawbacks of the game, and I will start with the minor ones first. Because of the fact that you can only look and move in 4 directions, all the diagonal fields around you become blind spots where you can't see or attack enemies. This may not sound like a huge problem, but it can get you in a whole lot of trouble since, for instance, Seekers always look for the shortest way to their target, and they can move diagonally, plus enemies can also shoot at you from a diagonal field. The next drawback is that enemies are longer visible than environments. This is something that can become a bigger problem in underground areas, and what I mean is that walls are visible over a distance of 6 fields, enemies over a distance of 8 fields. The result is that enemies can walk and shoot through walls at a certain distance. The next thing is that, in my opinion, half of the weapons are not that useful at all, and I mean the rocket launchers and the scatter grenade launcher. My problem with the rocket launchers is that I need the same time or even 2 or 3 times longer to destroy a target with one of those rocket launchers than with the plasma guns, simply because they need time to lock on to a target, and after you fire the rocket itself takes a little time to reach the target, and if the target is too close to you / to the rocket that you just fired, it has to find and lock onto the target again in mid-air. Even with the quick lock unit or the friend of foes missile, it can still take the rocket some time to hit the target. It can also fly into a wall and explode, and in the end you only have a couple of rockets per launcher, and for some enemies you need 2-3 rockets to destroy them, so I will always prefer the plasma guns over the rocket launchers. And the scatter grenade launcher is a complete hit or miss weapon system, since you never know where the exploding parts will land. The only situation where this weapon can be useful, at least in my opinion, is when you face a bigger group of enemies, since the chances are higher that you hit at least one or maybe even a couple of enemies at once. With the upgrades it's the completely opposite situation. Except for 2 of those, I think all of them are pretty cool and very helpful, and deciding which ones I'm gonna choose for the next mission can take me actually some time. But there are also some problems with the upgrades, and the main problem is that equipping the Ace battle armor with the upgrade is not enough. You also have to activate the upgrades as your primary or secondary system in order to use them. Except of course the extra armor plates, they will work without activating them. So using the upgrades is kinda inconvenient, and since only 2 systems can be activated at the same time, you don't get a lot and sometimes even no advantages at all from those upgrades. For example, if I choose a plasma gun without any secondary system, I can shoot, let's say, 15 times until the energy is so low that it has to recharge until I can fire again. If I choose the Thermalite unit, I can shoot the plasma gun 30 times, because with the Thermalite unit each shot of the plasma gun needs only half of the normal energy, so it is an improvement. But I get the same result with the Combat Neuralink instead of the Thermalite unit. Again, I can only shoot 15 times, but my shots make twice as much damage, and I get also the same result if I take a second plasma gun instead of those upgrades. So because of the 2 system limitation, upgrades and weapons can cancel each other out, or they don't give you any significant improvements at all. One thing that I really hate in this game are the Sentinel gun turrets. Not because they are pretty tough enemies, but you can't get any information about their status, since you can't scan them, and also with the target tracking system you don't get any information at all about their status. The rocket launchers don't see them as a target, so you can't log on to them, and also the friend or foe missiles self-destruct except they find another real target. And the last and main reason why I hate those gun turrets is because the game randomly decides how much damage those gun turrets can take. It doesn't happen all the time, but you will notice it while playing. Most of the times you can expect that it needs 2 to 3 fusion grenades or about 25 shots with 40 watt plasma gun to destroy them, or even less with the other plasma guns. But every now and then they need 40 to 50 shots or 5 to 6 fusion grenades, and sometimes they actually can't be destroyed with the plasma guns at all, only with the fusion grenades. It's not like there are different kinds of Sentinel gun turrets or that they have specific target zones that you have to hit in order to destroy them. No, it's however the game feels like it. Maybe this is just some kind of bug because it doesn't happen all the time, but you're gonna notice it while playing the game. And now we come to the last and biggest drawback of the game. There are no difficulty levels to choose from, and the game is way too hard for a couple of reasons. First, except for the stationary targets like the Sentinel gun turrets, all the enemies in a level are infinite. So you can't clear level from all the enemies, they will respawn over and over again after some time. Plus the level itself feels like a minefield, since enemies will pop out of nowhere and sometimes surround you if you step on a specific field. Even though one field before there were no enemies at all on the radar screen. The next thing is that the enemies make a lot of damage, and if you study the detailed informations about the enemy units in the character generation menu, you see that they are heavily armed. The accuracy is pretty high, I would say about 80%, and you can't dodge the shots. That's why you constantly have to use the auto repair system and maybe also the auto dog unit if you took one with you. While using the auto repair system you are still able to walk around, and upgrades like the target tracking system or the auto dog unit for instance will still work in the background if they are activated. But as soon as you fire a weapon, check the auto map, inventory, orders, or try to switch between your weapons or upgrades, the auto repair system will deactivate itself and you have to start it again. The auto repair system is not very fast, and on the battlefield it's not that easy to find a place to rest, since seekers and dragons are always after you and they will find you sooner or later. But there are a few safe zones which you can find mostly in or around entrances or elevators where the game skips the in-game repair time. Speaking of time, some of the missions are time-based, which doesn't help the game to become easier. And I personally was never a fan of time-based missions or quests in games. Oh, and I also hate escort missions, but yeah, that's another story. You're also not able to save during missions, only before or afterwards. Now, to be fair, the game gives you emergency kits for each mission, which consists mostly out of 2 parts / items, and you can find them in your inventory. You either get a repair kit, which repairs your armor completely, a medic kit, which heals you completely, or a repack kit, which reloads all your weapon systems. But except for the repack kit, honestly, I mostly forgot to use the repair kit or the medic kit, because I thought I have to save them for emergencies, and yeah, either the situation wasn't an emergency or it was already too late. There's also one last thing that you can do if you get into real troubles: abort the mission. Now you're back in the armory, where you can equip the Ace battle armor with the same stuff like before or make some changes, and then you go right back to the beginning of the level. But you continue the mission, so all the mission objectives that you have achieved so far are still achieved. If you have to abort the mission again, then this mission has become a failure and the game will continue with a different mission, Wing Commander style, like I already mentioned before. So bottom line, the game is pretty hard, and honestly it took me 12 tries to even finish the first level. But at some point, yeah, I have to say it made click and I figured out how to play this game. Since first I had some troubles about how to use the weapons, upgrades, inventories and the repair system, and after I figured all those things out, yeah, I got better, but I still played this game like a normal first-person shooter, which doesn't get you very far in this game, and there is also no way to play this game like a stealth game, for instance. The way this game was meant to be played is guerrilla war style. A fast hard strike and then run like hell and hide. So in a way, this game can be classified as first-person guerrilla war simulator. Bethesda Softworks tried and in my opinion also succeeded to make this game as realistic as possible. Since from all that we know and saw in the movies, the remaining humanity / the resistance fights more or less a guerrilla war against Skynet. And when I think about how high the chances would be for humanity in a war against Skynet, yeah. Well, I wouldn't bet money on us, so let's leave it like that. Graphically, it's a good looking game for 1992. The environments, enemies and explosions are pretty detailed. Bethesda Softworks achieved that mostly by using pseudo 3D graphics instead of a real 3D engine. The sound effects are alright, the music is pretty good and adds a lot to the atmosphere. I've mentioned it in the beginning, only the deluxe CD edition has an in-game soundtrack and voice acting. So for people who are interested in this game, I would really recommend this version. The voice actors are, yeah, for the most part okay. Technician Rachel Sterner sounds a lot like the iPhone app Siri, at least in my opinion, and every now and then there are also some audio distortions in the background while the people are talking, but I'm actually not sure if this is the game or maybe it's DOSBox. The controls are not very complicated and they work perfectly. A few words about the expansion pack Operation Scour. This campaign has 12 missions, the setting is Washington DC and not Los Angeles. The goal in the Terminator 2029 is to destroy Skynet's central command. And in Operation Scour, a so-called metanode tries to rebuild it, and you have to stop it. A metanode is also, yeah, a supercomputer, and you can say it's Skynet's right hand or a Skynet Junior. In the expansion pack there are 2 new enemy types, the Manta, which is a tougher version of the Flying Scorpion, and the Guardian, which is more or less a gliding version of the Eradicator G1000. There are no new weapons or upgrade systems, actually a few things were removed for this expansion pack, like for instance the shields or the shield generators. then like in the original game you start the expansion pack missions only with a small selection of weapons and upgrades, and later on you get more stuff to choose from since your character just arrived with the suit in Washington DC and it needs time to transport all the available weapons and upgrades to this new location. Promotions were also removed and aborting missions will not lead to a different mission, so basically failure is not an option. You have to play the mission over and over again until you are able to beat it, in order to progress to the next mission. Except in the last 3 missions, because a failure will be a game over. In the end, I would rate the Terminator 2029 between an average and good game. Not great, mostly because of the frustrating difficulty level. The game will give you a Terminator future war-like experience and atmosphere. For such a game, you're gonna notice that Bethesda Softworks again tried to put as much realism, lore for details and Terminator atmosphere as possible into this game. Kyle Reese will also be mentioned in one of the later missions of the original game, and you see a short cutscene as he uses the time traveling device, and afterwards it is your mission to destroy it. And one final thing that I want to mention, which I realized while playing this game for this review, is that the Terminator 2029 plus the expansion pack Operation Scour and the Terminator Rampage are connected story-wise, beside the fact that all 3 games and the add-on share a lot of similarities. When the Terminator gets destroyed in the first game, The Terminator, you can see in the following cutscene that the Resistance destroys Skynet's Central Command in the future. In the Terminator 2029, this is exactly what you have to do at the end of the game. And the final cutscene of the Terminator 2029 is the intro of the Terminator Rampage. But the intro of the Terminator Rampage is longer, since a Metanaut unit, which we first heard of and defeated in the add-on Operation Scour, was able to escape from the Central Command before it blew up, and it has traveled back in time into the year 1984 to change the future. But I'm gonna tell you this story in my next review. And now we're at the end of my review of the Terminator 2029. This was the deluxe CD edition with the expansion pack / the mission disc Operation Scour. This was the second out of 5 Terminator games which were made by Bethesda Softworks for the PC-DOS. I would recommend this game to video gamers who are huge fans of the Terminator movies, and also to fans of old PC-DOS games who really want a challenging game, and lastly of course to video game collectors. I hope you enjoyed the show, maybe see you next time, take care, bye, and I'll be back.